Last week while traveling down the highway, a rock flew up and hit my windshield. Unfortunately, it left a chip with a small crack that I figured would eventually grow if I didn't do anything about it. My insurance doesn't cover rock chips. Therefore, I usually take my vehicle to a windshield repair joint to address this and just pay out of pocket. I had just been to one of those places about 5 months ago, so I thought of trying out one of those do-it-yourself kits I had seen in one of the numerous big box stores scattered across the country. The store I went to had this Rain-X repair kit on the shelf for just over $10. That's around $70 less than it would cost me to take it to a professional, so even though I knew nothing about windshield repair, I decided to give it a try. The kit came with a razor blade, a container of the windshield repair fluid, a plastic tube to direct the fluid down into the void on the windshield, a plunger to inject the fluid into the void, some little plastic sheets to use for final touch-ups, and an apparatus for mounting the setup to the windshield. To remove any of the tiny fragments at the impact point, I just used a standard toothbrush. Next, I wiped down the windshield and affixed the suction cup apparatus. While placing this on the windshield, I made sure the circular opening at the center of the frame was directly over the chip. The container to house the rosin was then screwed down until it was flush with the windshield. There's a rubber tip on the container, so when it's screwed down, there should be a gapless seal between it and the windshield. Next, I put in a few drops of rosin. The instructions called for a couple of drops, but I put in more. After putting in about 10 drops, I screwed down the plunger until I noticed a little bit of fluid leaking out at the seal between the casing and the windshield. In accordance with the instructions, I let it sit there for about 5 minutes. It was about 40 degrees outside when I did this, so it was a little chilly. I thought that might impact the viscosity of the rosin, so to help the rosin migrate through the windshield fracture, I used a hairdryer just to warm the glass a little bit. After another 5 minutes, I unscrewed the plunger, added a bit more rosin, and screwed it back down. The instructions suggest removing and then reinserting the plunger to release any air that had been in the crack but had been forced out by the fluid. I noticed that due to the pressure applied and presumably because the cracks and crevices were filled with the fluid, the excess fluid had begun to leak out from the seal. A concern I had was when I removed the plunger, there would be a cavity of air in the chamber. If I didn't add more rosin, as I screwed the plunger back down, I would be forcing air back into the crack. After another 5 minutes, I removed the whole apparatus and wiped down the windshield. The kit included these little plastic sheets. They're to be used in the final steps after you remove the suction cup apparatus. You're supposed to add rosin to any dimple that is still on the windshield and cover it with the plastic sheet. After allowing a few minutes for the liquid to harden under the sheet, remove it and then use the razor blade to scrape off the excess. Overall, the kit cost me about 24 minutes of my time and a little over $10. In addition, after I was done, I noticed there was enough fluid in the bottle for 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 applications. I was pleased with the results and I would definitely use this product again.